My daughter and I in 2023 moved to South Dakota, and it's a beauty to see what the frontier used to look like. South Dakota also has a lot of heroes who aren't spoken about. I drive across a bridge every day named after a Medal of Honor recipient, or walk past a statue of former Governor Joe Foss. We have the Vietnam Memorial, and then we have our hometown heroes. Throughout rural areas of the state, there might be another hero just right in front of you, like Woodrow Keeble, Medal of Honor recipient, or head out to the Badlands. Other members of the tribes, the first female Army Air Force pilot. With this story, you may have heard of the Navajo Code Talkers. Did you know that Lakota also had Code Talkers? Several from the state of South Dakota, and one in particular, though. His name is Private First Class Clarence Wolfguts. Last of the Lakota Code Talkers. The Lakota had been in this land long before you or I. The Dakota, and the Lakota, all are called the Sioux. However, Sioux is actually not the correct term. And the French settled this area for trapping and whatnot before the Louisiana Purchase. The first tribes they ran into were the Chippewa, and so the Chippewa would refer to them as the Sioux, which means snake, villain, or enemy. And the Sioux were the hunters of the Great Plains and a warrior-based culture, which is why so many fine Marines and soldiers came from there. You had Crazy Horse. They built the largest monument carved from granite, or Sitting Bull. And through these ancestors, passed down their ways and their language to Clarence Wolfguts and his cousins, who helped the United States win World War II. Clarence Wolfguts was born February 16th, 1924, in the Red Leaf community located on the Rosebud Sioux Indian Tribe Reservation. His birth certificate, his name was listed as Eagle Elk. However, his father and his uncles ended up naming him Wolfguts. He had learned to speak their natural language of Lakota from his grandfather, Hawk Ghost, and his grandmother, Hazel Medicine Owl. His grandfather taught him the facts of life in the Lakota language, and he had said that he had told me, "You'll go to school, but you will learn the Lakota language. You'll speak this because you'll probably need it later in life." And his grandfather was absolutely correct on that one. He and his cousin, Ivor Crow Eagle, left the boarding school, and they attended St. Francis in 11th grade to fight in World War II. The United States needed them, and both boys dropped out of school, enlisted, headed off to Omaha. "I didn't know if I could make the physical in Omaha," he said, "as I had a perforated eardrum. I guess a bug got in there when I was a child. My grandmother took the tweezers and pulled the bug out, but also damaged my ear in the process. But it was 1942 in the United States. At the time, wasn't fussy. And combat training in Tennessee, desert exercises in Arizona, and finally they were sent to Ranger training at Camp Rucker in Alabama." Wolfguts, with considerable detail, the day he became an important player in the war effort, a captain came to his barracks and asked him, "You talk Indian?" He said, "Yes, 100%. "Well, the general wants to see you." I got you. Major General Paul Mueller, command of the Army's 81st Infantry, poured glasses of whiskey for the three of them. Told Clarence he wanted a man-to-man talk. "None of this, sir, General. Just talk to me like a man." And from Clarence's account, Major General Mueller had never met a Native American before. He was surprised to see when Clarence had walked in. He asked him, "Do you speak Indian? Do you know the alphabet? Do you know how to write it?" And everything along that line. And of course, Clarence responded, "Yes, sir. I speak Lakota." On his account, he had stated that he had told the general he just wants to serve his country. He doesn't care about ranks or promotions. He just wants to be the best soldier he can. The general was just very pleased with that. He said, "Do you know anybody else that speaks your language?" And of course, in this case, Clarence mentioned, "Well, my cousin Ivor, he's here with us as well." And he said he just remembers the look on the Major General's face, big old smile, and he said, "I hit the jackpot." Although there was a large number of the Navajo Code Talkers, the Lakota only had 4. The two other Lakota from South Dakota, Roy Bad Hand and Benny White Bear, were also recruited. The four of them learned how to operate military radio, and they worked with officials to develop coded messages. They developed a phonetic alphabet and assigned military meanings to common words like turtle, tree, or horse. Their communications helped the Army move their troops and supplies throughout the Pacific without tipping off the enemy. Clarence was General Mueller's personal code talker and traveled with him and the 81st as the division moved to and from island to island in the Pacific, heading for Japan. They had accompanied the general's chief of staff. They even had special protection, 2 bodyguards assigned to each code talker. Clarence still shakes when he thinks of the bullets, mortars, and bombs. Frustrated by the language they didn't know, the Japanese made special efforts to find the code talkers. However, will we survive this? Ira would ask Clarence on a daily basis from his account. He said, thoughts of the Rosebud Reservation provided comfort. He'd always thought, made sure his family had food on the table if they were dancing and remembering them. Now, they did begin to drink heavily in the Army, and when they went to war, because war is hell, he said, all I can say is it went to hell and back, and he and many others found at least temporary relief hitting the bottle. It's easier that way than when you have to take somebody's life, he said. As operators, they had access to another avenue of escape. We could tune into the radio to the U.S. and get Western music from San Francisco. We could hear You Are My Sunshine and Chattagota Choo Choo, and this helped pass the days, but we were serving our country. Wolf Guts, under General Mueller, had 2 bodyguards who were given specific orders that Wolf Guts or Ivers were to be shot if they were captured to avoid code being handed over. Mueller ordered that he himself, his personal radio man, were to be killed in the worst-case scenario. This order, however, may not have been so much a case of protecting the code as protecting operational information that the general radio man possessed. Many code talkers themselves believed that they would be killed. Both Wolf Guts and Crow Eagle recalling hearing code talkers from units discussing the expected fate of anybody in their position. Wolf Guts, like the other code talkers, kept quiet about the wartime missions and deeds, not surprisingly. Life changed for him dramatically after the military declassified official information about the code talkers' missions and feats. In the year 2008, Code Talkers Recognition Act has passed honoring all Native American code talkers. Wolf Guts was among those who went to Congress to testify about these American Indian accomplishments. He spent remaining months of his life as a celebrity, making appearances across the nation and earning various accolades. He did not receive the Congressional Gold Medal until the year of 2013. All of the Sioux Nation code talkers had received it then. Unfortunately, Clarence had died in 2010. All of his brother-in-arms had already proceeded then before him. The most famous of the Sioux Nation code talkers became the last of the Sioux Nation code talkers.